Here again is Jane Pauley.
You've seen how having a disability can affect your ability to get a job you think you're qualified for or a home you want. Now you're going to see the other side of the story as we take you to a place that's been redesigned to address the needs of the disabled. Problem is, places like this are still the exception rather than the rule.
Alana Terrio can't wait to get up in the morning. Outside her house, a whole world beckons. There's the bus to take her anywhere she wants to go. Alana, disabled with a degenerative neuromuscular disease, may have her own ways of getting here and there, but wherever she goes, her life is independent.
Hey, how you doing?
This is Berkeley, California, where being disabled is no big deal. Look around. This place is heaven. Chirping signals to help blind people across the street, for wheelchairs, ramps everywhere you look, and entrances where you just roll in the front door. When Alana needs help,
203 your change.
there's no crisis. Nobody needs to call a manager.
Monterey Jack, she's right there.
They just lend a hand. Making all of America accessible like Berkeley is another of the goals of the 7-year-old Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. Making buildings and other facilities accessible is now the law of the land. But to some people, that's going too far. The ADA, they say, costs too much, forces absurd changes, and encourages angry lawsuits.
But for disabled people, the ADA is about freedom, not regulations and lawsuits. Disabled people are looking for what makes everybody's life great. The ability to think up adventures big and small and just go for it, like right here on the Brooklyn Bridge. I bet you didn't know, it's the coolest wheelchair ramp in the world. I guess it also helps commuters get into Manhattan. But for me, this bridge is the symbol of freedom, when there's nothing out there in front of you to shut you down. But of course, people don't live on bridges. And out here on the street, in daily life, there's plenty to shut you down, if you're disabled or in a wheelchair, for instance. Imagine what it's like to go through life knowing that around the next corner, there might be something to trip you up.
This city, like so many others, is full of old buildings, heavy doors, stairs, and other obstacles that people say can't be modified. There's a subway stop in the building where I work and in the building where I live, but I can't use them. If I want to go to dinner with friends, I have to hope they don't choose one of the thousands of restaurants impossible for me to get into. For months, I watched as this store in my neighborhood neared completion of a major renovation. I was looking forward to going inside and buying something right here at the Armani Exchange in Soho. Uh-oh, looks like a couple of steps here. I can't go up those by myself.
Excuse me. So, where's the ramp? Why don't you have a ramp?
There's security here. You'd have to talk to the manager.
So the manager came out to talk to me.
You have absolutely no policy or any way to get people in wheelchairs into the store.
We do not.
You don't?
I'm told the reason the store is inaccessible is because it's a landmark building, and they haven't received permission to make a ramp. The Landmarks Commission later told us that Armani has never asked for permission, and if they had, building a ramp probably would have been no big deal. Things you might take for granted can be impossible for disabled people. If you wanted to see a big blockbuster movie, say The Lost World, anyone in New York would come right here to the Ziegfeld. The biggest screen, the best sound system, just had a major renovation. This is the deluxe location for viewing dinosaurs or any other movie magic. And look, right over here is a ramp. So I went inside and bought a ticket, go into the lobby, and uh-oh, 4 steps this time. That's okay. I've got the ramp outside.
Can I go up the ramp and get to the theater?
Escalator, yes. But you can fit on the escalator. If you can fit through this door, you should be able to fit on the escalator.
All right, well, I'll go around and come up.
I go outside, up the ramp, and here's the door. It's a big one, too.
Can you open the other door?
Yes.
But there's this metal post down the middle.
There's no way to get in here.
How about this side? Try this side.
Nope.
Although the Ziegfeld is owned by the multi-million-dollar corporation Cineplex Odeon, the manager says it would be too expensive to make the theater accessible because it's an old building.
I can give you a refund and tell you which theater is playing this show, which is wheelchair accessible.
So I have to go to another theater? Do you tell other customers who come to go to different theaters?
But the other theater is 30 blocks away. I can't take the subway to get there, taxis aren't accessible, and the bus gets me there too late, so I'm out of luck.
Maybe a lot of the problem is the fact that people don't think disability issues all the way through. Either they decide up front that something is impossible, or they just do things halfway. For instance, the people at Mattel certainly had the right idea when they came up with this disabled Barbie doll, Share a Smile Becky. Kind of a nauseating name, really, but what made the kids upset was this. When Becky here tries to use the nifty elevator in her dream house, watch what happens. Ouch. You get the idea. An accessible house is on the drawing board.
But this whole "the check is in the mail" kind of excuse for not being accessible doesn't wash, really, when you look at places that have actually made the effort to change.
Take this building. Built in the 1890s. Wasn't accessible to begin with, but build a ramp. Do something about these 800-pound doors. And one little elevator later to get me up the stairs, and I'm right here with everybody else. Now, these modifications aren't cheap, but they were a tiny fraction of a $20 million renovation.
What made the job easier is that this is the Cooper Hewitt Museum of Design. Director Diane Pilgrim, who has MS, took it as a personal challenge to make this seemingly impossible building accessible.
I mean, I have to tell you, when we opened the front entrance in September, I mean, I cried. You know, it was the first time in 8 years I could walk in the front door.
Now, why in the heck would you want to modify to make accessible a building like this? Built in the 1800s, it seems like, forget about it.
No way. Museums are places that should be accessible to everyone. I'm telling you, if people would just calm down, take a deep breath, really look at their facility, they'll find ways. Believe me, they will. And they won't be offensive.
For America to become accessible, people have to really believe that, especially the ones who will have to eliminate all those steps and curbs and other obstacles. But a lot of people would say that it might be more convenient, certainly cheaper, if disabled people just went to the stores and theaters and restaurants that are already accessible and just leave it at that.
Maybe I could just go to Berkeley, California. Everything's accessible there. And maybe I'd be better off. But it wouldn't be my home. And most importantly, it wouldn't be freedom.
One unanticipated result of the Americans with Disabilities Act may be a boon to aging baby boomers. Architects tell us as the population ages, more and more people will benefit from ramps, elevators, wider doors, etc. You can learn more about the ADA, your housing and employment rights, and the legal rights of the disabled at our website. The address is www.dateline.msnbc.com.